Hi, this is Connor from AvidVisions, and today we're going to show you how to build this rig. This is our camera stabilizer, and it's a chest stabilizer, as you can see. And this is really in response to all those comments that you guys gave me for filming the 13mm f2.8 Vivitar review, because that was terrible. So this is our stabilizer. I'm going to show you how to make it, and then we're going to show you some test videos. Here's what you're going to need. First of all, you're going to need a drill with a 1/4-inch drill bit so that you can put all of your bolts and stuff through everything. If you don't have this, you might be a little stuck, so make sure you have this first. We have a PVC cutter. You just need something to cut a PVC pipe with. Any real saw will kind of work. We used a Swiss Army knife the last time we tried something like this. That was unfortunate, but it worked. You're going to need 5 elbow joints. You're going to need 5 T-joints. You're going to need one of these kind of sideways T-joints. It's like a 90-degree bottom. And then we needed this little connector just because of that. But you do need this kind of 3-way thing. And then for the camera mount, we are using a 2.5-inch 1/4 bolt. A 1/4-inch bolt is the size that actually fits into the bottom of your camera, so it's important that you get a 1/4-inch diameter. 2 nuts for that bolt, like I said, the spring, and then just a little cap to mount your actual camera on. This is where the DSLR is going to sit. We have this little flexible piping hose for our shoulder mount that we're going to be making, and then right here we have just about 6 feet of PVC pipe, just so we have a lot of leftovers and to make sure that we have enough. All in all, you can probably get all of this, excluding the cutter and the drill, for about $20, and if you're really smart and get not way too much piping, you could even probably get this for about $10. Okay, so now we're going to make the front of the base for our rig. So you'll see I've just connected 2 of our PVC pipes into the center elbow, and then we measured out from the center of the elbow 7 inches to each side, because we wanted our rig to be at least 14 inches wide, because that will comfortably fit the DSLR that we measured after swinging out the LCD screen. So after you've measured twice and made sure that you're all correct, it is time to actually cut the PVC. So we're going to take our cutters, line it all up. These are ratchet cutters, so it's going to take me a little bit here. We'll probably edit this out, but we're going to cut our PVC nice and clean. And this will be the front of our base. Alright, now that we have this, we are going to extend back to make the place where the camera mounts. And here's where we're going to be putting our actual mount. This is where all the springs go, and this is where we're going to be placing the DSLR. We wanted to make sure that when we actually mounted the camera, we wanted the focusing ring on most of our lenses to be kind of right behind or even with where we want our hand grips to be, so that it would be really easy to move inside of the structure and focus or do whatever we need to adjust our camera settings, like zoom or whatever. So we wanted to move the camera back. I recommend you just take your camera and whatever lens you think you're going to be using the most, put it on your camera, and then measure. We've decided that we're going to mount about 4.5 inches back is where we're going to cut our PVC. So let's mark that. We're measuring 4.5 inches from the end of the elbow joint. So we will mark that right there. We're going to cut that, and that is where this elbow joint is going to rest, that we will mount our camera on. Okay, so we did the drilling already to save some time in the video, but basically you're going to put this elbow joint where you want to mount your camera, facing as straight up as you can make it, and this is something you can fine tune later. And then you're going to drill a hole straight through the middle of the bottom of the elbow, just like that, and then drill a hole as centered as you can. This one can be a little bit wider and have more tolerances in the top of your cap. So after you've drilled the hole, what you're going to do is you're going to take your 2.5-inch by 1/4-inch bolt and thread it up through the bottom of that T-joint. Put it through just like that. Ours is sticking up mostly straight, so that's good. Then you're going to throw a spring down on it. Take one of your nuts, and these are 1/4 nuts, of course, and you're going to spin it down on this thing on the bolt all the way. And if your fingers are not narrow enough for this, then you can get a little ratchet head and spin it down, or a hex screw or something like that. But I'm just bending it to the side a little bit and I can fit my fingers in there. So now we have our spring assembly. Our bolt's a little springy, presses down, it's not going to come out or anything, and it's more or less centered. So now we're going to take this cap that we drilled another hole into, and this is going to be kind of like our camera base, and we're going to put it on top of this thing. I'm going to go off frame here for a second just to really smash this down into the ground. Now make sure that your bolt goes back through just like that, and we're going to move this in a little bit more. And so this is where it becomes important that you got a 2.5 inch bolt so that you have enough thread to mount your camera on, as you see. Alright, so now we have our full spring assembly, and it looks like it's not a lot, but this actually is just enough to really snugly keep your camera on. So what you're going to do, once we have the rest of the rig finished, put your camera upside down inside the rig, and then you just kind of need to spin this bolt right here at the bottom, and it gets pretty snugly into the camera. You want to make sure actually that you don't get a longer bolt and put it too far into the camera, because if you thread something too far into a camera, you actually risk damaging the camera. The tripod mount is kind of one of the weak spots of construction for a lot of cameras. But so now this is really solid. Even if I didn't screw the bolt in too much, the camera and the bolt kind of rotate together when they're a little bit looser, so your camera is actually pretty secure in this position. Okay, so now we're going to make the backbone of the construction. So we just cut two kind of like roughly 3/4 inch, whatever, small little sections. Doesn't really matter too long, just make them more than a 1/2 inch long so that they can be little connectors. Then we're going to take an elbow joint and put it onto a pipe. So here we have it. We decided that we want our rig to be 8 inches tall because that will comfortably fit the DSLRs we're using. So I'm taking my elbow and then I'm going to measure out 7.5 inches from the top of the elbow. So right there-ish, and then we'll cut that. Alright, so we have this cut. We're going to put a second elbow on it because this is the back. Then we're going to bring in one of our little scrap pieces, put it like that. Now we're going to bring in the base. Take our scrap piece, put it in like that. We want this out to this side. This is going to be where our shoulder mount connects to this part of the frame to add some stability. So bring those two together. Now we're going to bring this part in, and there we go. This is kind of the back of our frame. Alright, so now we're going to make the bottom of the structure. We're going to plug this PVC in here, and it's going to meet up in an elbow joint with this. So for now, we're just going to kind of make these two things extend to the exact same amount. So first, make sure that both of them are really pressed in firmly. Again, measure twice, cut once. So this is what looks like even on them, but now let's measure out from the side of their T-joints. So this one is about 5.5 inches out, and this one is also 5.5 inches out. So now we're going to cut. Great. Now we're going to put an elbow, or a T-joint rather, right here, down there. And then at this point, we're going to take that weird 90-degree bent T-joint. We're going to take the female adapter that we got, just to make this all work, and screw that in nice and tight, because we don't want this to come out. We're going to put that on right here. Now you see that these two things are going to be dead even, which is just what we want. So we're just going to need to measure out a connector pipe to put into these. So I'm just going to look at this. So it's going to go in about that far, and we'll start by cutting it this long. We can trim it down if we need to. Just take these things apart really quickly. Get this nice and snug in there, and then fit the two things back together, bringing both of these in at the same time. Really making it all fit nicely. There we go. You can see how our frame is really coming together. We remember for this back thing, we jammed the PVC into the elbow and then cut out 7.5 inches. So we're going to do that for both sides of the front to make sure that the whole frame is the same height. So let's take a big piece of PVC, really put it in, Sharpie, and measure this. So going up 7.5 inches, which is right there. I'm going to do this for both sides. Alright, so we have our frame going now, and remember when we were down here at the bottom, we measured out 7 inches from the center. So now that we're up top, we're going to measure 7 inches from the back of this elbow right here and make our line to cut. We're going to do this on both sides. So now we're going to make sure everything's straight right now before we get this really secure. We're just going to get this part really lined up. You see that it is. We're just going to measure out, kind of eyeballing it like this, a good length to cut. So we're going to put it like a little bit into that, a little bit into that. Then we're going to guess too long, and we'll cut down if we need to. So this is what our stabilizer is looking like right now. We're having some difficulties with the elbow that's supposed to be connecting here, but it's still pretty solid just based on the construction of this thing, because this is really keeping it straight up. So now what we're going to do is we want to make it even more solid, so we're going to add right back here a little shoulder brace, just so we can really like brace it against ourselves and get a really clear image. We're looking at the viewfinder right here because the camera is going here. And it's really easy if we mount on our shoulder right here. We'll have support on this side from our shoulder, support on this side from our hand, and we can change camera settings over here kind of without really losing too much stability from the rig. And this is all going to be really easy to move around with and do a lot of panning shots with. So now we're just going to kind of custom fit this last little piece of PVC that we need to our shoulder. So I don't want to be holding it like way out like that, so I'm thinking maybe if we cut it back about here. I'm going to make the mark, and then we're going to just put on, I just got flexible plumbing hose like I said to make a little cushioned little brace right here. So I see this is coming out an extra inch, so maybe I'll cut it a little bit shorter. And let's just eyeball it one more time, right about here. Looks to be good. So let's make the cut, and we're just gonna again start too long and then cut down until we don't want to anymore.